A Texas man has been charged for murdering a woman, allegedly, and shooting her husband because they don't agree with him politically and voted for President Joe Biden. Now, this shooting happened last November, but new details about the incident sheds new light on what motivated the shooter, whose name is Joseph Angel Alvarez. He's accused of murder and aggravated assault over the fatal attack on the night of November 14th, 2020 that left 50-year-old Georgette Kaufmann dead and her husband, 47-year-old Daniel Kaufmann, wounded after being shot 5 times. Now, according to the investigators in this case, they looked into the political beliefs of the attacker here. They realized that the Kaufmanns had supported Biden and they were overt in their support for Biden. They had a pro-Biden flag in their front yard. And it wasn't just this couple that was targeted by Alvarez. There were other couples who he was intending on targeting as well, but luckily was not able to attack in the way that he did the Kaufmanns. Now, here's an account of specifically what happened that night. Georgette Kaufmann's body was discovered inside her garage with the car still running and the driver's side door still open. Alvarez next allegedly took a flight of stairs where he attempted to make his way into the main area of the Kaufmann house. At roughly the same time, Daniel Kaufmann said he went to check on the noise at the wrought iron door, believing it to be his wife. Instead, the gunman fired several shots. This is insane. The husband was hit once in the head, once in the shoulder, and once in the wrist, but he survived the shooting. It was his wife who tragically did not survive.
So I want to read this next part of this because it's really important that you understand that this is not random. That this is the guy mentally unbalanced. Almost certainly, obviously you don't just go randomly shoot neighbors. Again, not random, but you don't shoot neighbors over political disagreements. That's crazy. But almost all the terrorists are crazy. You don't go put on a suicide vest and blow yourself to smithereens. That's not a normal human thing to do. The question is, who's egging them on to do what and who are they targeting? That's why I'm gonna read you the next part of the story. In the email, Alvarez allegedly identified Memorial Park near the home as the ritualistic satanic ground to conduct abortions by the manner of magic, and said he was, quote, executing and exterminating the pro-choice Jewish Satan worshipers by going after the Kaufmanns. He also referred to the couple as the members of the, quote, Jewish Satanist party, and expressed a desire to, quote, stop all murder of babies. Now, this has 2 very disturbing parts to it. Number 1 is, here we warned you over and over again that the bottom of this pen, like at this barrel, this toxic barrel of fear and hatred that the Republicans are stewing up is anti-Semitism. So we've shown you over and over again when you ask the QAnon guys and all those lunatics, who do you think's behind everything? They say the Jews. So it's not an accident that this guy in Texas targets his Jewish neighbors and is constantly talking about how they're Jewish Satanists. And because they think, who secretly controls things, the puppet master, etc. We've shown you Emma Vigeland, when she used to be here, would do interviews. There's a guy with a giant George Soros tattoo on his back because he says he's the puppet master. These are the oldest anti-Semitic tropes that have been used to kill Jews throughout history. It's here in America. This is not a small story. So they get this poison into all of these sick people's heads and then they let them loose. It's called stochastic terrorism. You suggest they do something bad, but you don't name the people. So no Republican ever said the Kaufmanns, no right winger ever said it. They just said, well, isn't it terrible how Satanist they are and how they're murdering little babies, which is point number 2. Once you get people to believe they're murdering babies, they'll do anything to stop them. And they'll think killing is pro-life because of the babies they're saving. That's the abortion racket, and that's the QAnon satanic baby molestation racket. So the Republican Party hasn't just been doing it with QAnon. They've been doing it for decades with abortion. They're killing babies, they're killing babies. You gotta do something about those evil Democrats that are killing babies. Do something, do something. And when you give that message to 330 million people, there'll be a certain percentage that are already unbalanced that will receive that message and go to kill local Democrats, liberals, progressives, and Jewish Americans.
Yeah, I mean, we have a dangerous cocktail in the country where we are living in a sea of guns. We have politicians who use violent rhetoric and accusations of, destroying freedom to essentially gain, political brownie points. And then you have undiagnosed and untreated mental illness in the country, right? Which I think that these lawmakers exploit for their own political purposes. And more often than not, we're seeing instances of people actually carrying out violence, right? I mean, the media often tends to focus on, what happened in the nation's capital on January 6th with good reason. But at the same time, if you take a step back and you look at the anecdotal cases, they add up. There were more this week alone, for instance. There was the story about the truck near the, here, let's get to that. So there was a truck where the officers actually arrested a California man with a bayonet and machete. Okay, so here's what happened. Around midnight, a special operation division officer was on patrol when he noticed a Dodge Dakota pickup truck with a swastika and other white supremacist symbols painted on it outside of the DNC headquarters. The truck did not have a license plate, but instead a picture of an American flag in its place. The Capitol Police officer pulled over the truck and noticed a bayonet and machete, which are illegal in Washington, D.C., inside the truck. Donald Craighead, 44, was apprehended for possession of prohibited weapons. But I mean, look, luckily that ended calmly in an arrest, and no one got harmed in that particular instance. But I feel like we're covering stories like this more and more often, and it's just pretty sick that right wingers keep riling people up the way that they do.
Yeah, so I want to make two more points here. One is the media coverage. So on the machete story, they covered that one a lot. And my theory on that is the same reason for January 6th, because it affects them. A lot of the reporters are in Washington, and so if it affects the elites, then they care intensely about it, right? But if it's in the middle of the country and it's to random people, well, it depends. That's when you get into massive right-wing entitlement. If there was anyone in the country who said, I killed these people for Joe Biden, that would be the biggest story, right? Every right-wing media would talk about it nonstop. Fox News would talk about it nonstop, and the CNN, MSNBC would say, well, it's the biggest story, what can we do? The guy kills for Biden, guy kills for Biden. They'd say it over and over again. And then if on top of that, he said, I killed them because they were Christians, everybody's heads would explode. This guy said, I did it for Trump because I thought they were mocking Trump, and I did it because they're Jews. Did you even hear that story? You might have heard the machete story. Did you hear the terrorist who killed for Trump? You probably barely heard it, or maybe you didn't hear it at all.
I mean, the media is one thing, but what about all the free speech warriors, right? The ones who are so aggrieved about college students protesting them when they speak on college campuses, right? They claim that the left happens to be the intolerant group that doesn't believe in freedom of political differences and speech and all of that. I mean, this man literally murdered a woman because of her political views. What happened? Where are they? I don't hear them talking about this. I don't hear them concerned in any way about the political violence directed at Democratic voters who happen to disagree with them. Seems like they don't care about that issue at all.
Yeah, and look, we can go on and on with the hypocrisy. Anytime a Muslim does something wrong, every Muslim in the world has to apologize for them. They say, why won't the moderate Muslims condemn them? Well, everybody does, and then you don't report it. And so in this case, you have a so-called pro-life guy who murders people. Why isn't every pro-life person apologizing for it? Why won't you condemn it? Why won't you? Because the media never assumes you have to condemn it. Because there's white right-wing privilege. They're assumed that they're innocent. But if it's a minority, they're assumed that they're guilty in case like this. And by the way, notice this guy is Latino, but his mind is so poisoned by this rhetoric and propaganda that he's seeing in media that he goes to hit Jews thinking they're the real enemy, okay? So by the way, no one is the real enemy based on race or religion. The question is, who's going to actually help the American people? But we've lost sight of that because all the right wing is doing is pumping out hatred. And so the last point is on that. Guys, this is how the brown shirts did it. Vigilante violence that led people into being terrorized into silence because you put up a Biden sign and someone kills you. And then it makes everybody worried about putting up a Biden sign because they remember the story of the guy who killed people because they put up a sign like that. And then you do that 2 times, 3 times, 12 times, all of a sudden nobody's putting up any signs, all of a sudden nobody's putting up any fight. That's why Trump constantly encourages the citizens to take the law into their own hands. And now you're seeing that same talking point from Josh Mandel, the guy running for Senate in Ohio, from so many other Republicans that we've shown you. Take the law into your own hands, take the law into your own hands, because it creates brown shirt vigilantes that terrorize the rest of us into submission. We cannot allow it. We have to stand up for ourselves and for each other. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.